What's up, Go enthusiasts? Recently, we learned the sad news that Nie Weiping passed away in his 70s. Nie Weiping was the first modern Chinese legendary player, and he spread Go maybe more than anyone else in human history. An absolute legend of the game. So, what we're going to watch here is Nie Weiping in the first ever Japan versus China Supergo match, which later became the Nongshim Cup when Japan, China, and Korea all decided to participate. Nie Weiping plays black against Kobayashi Koichi, one of the legendary players of Japan at that time. Nie Weiping was a great player in the opening, and he's taught many world champions. Many world champions have gone to his Go school, and he didn't do that well in the opening at the start in this game because White actually did a wonderful job. White beat the modern pre-AI understood idea that Black should play the slide. Which seems, you saw the slide here and you're like, okay, we're looking at a game from 1985, so of course, slide, normal, right? But actually, there can be something wrong with the slide, and White showed it. And this is how we would punish it in modern day, basically. You can high approach to the lower left, that establishes an influence, and then you can pincer. So now, when Black basically should go to the corner, and you make this kind of Joseki, common pattern, all of this is known and understood, it's supposed to be good for both. It looks a little bit more good for White, because White is sort of outlining a nice looking area, and White's not going to have to take care of the 3 stones. And like normally you have to end that Joseki by spending a move making them safe. White doesn't have to do that because White's making a bigger area. That's quite comfortable for White. However, in my opinion, at the very opening in like Fuseki, whichever country had the most good Go players has been the best in history. They've always been the best at the opening. But from here, we're going to go and play the rest of the game. And Nie Weiping was known as being invincible in the first 100 moves, or close enough. And so we're going to see that here. So immediately he plays this large enclosure from the 4-4 in the upper right that is not a particularly common popular move, but it is a good change to what you should do in the normal situation, because White now has a big wall in the upper right. So if you would just make a small enclosure, then White would still want to approach you someday later and make that top side automatically into the area for White, because White is just so strong Black can't fight it. So Black still takes an enclosure of the corner, but pushes it basically as far as he can towards the White influence, so that White ends up choked off and not getting enough space there if he does anything basic in the future. So White goes and builds on the left instead, since he can't build that effectively on the top, and Black plays on the right side, which was very effective here. It works well with his enclosure in the upper right. White's gonna defend his 3-4 stone, take a 2-space base, and Black plays the jump up here, which these days is becoming less popular, but actually it's still a great move. And you'll often see even the super top pro players play just, simple 1-space jump. You're like, what? This guy is thousands of elo higher than me, but he just plays a simple 1-space jump up? Yeah, because when you do this, there's nothing White can really do to stop it from being efficient. If White tries to just let Black have this area, that looks like a pretty big area. But if White comes in, normally if White would come in, it becomes a fight where like the R10 stone would get attacked. And then what can you do better in a fight which you don't know where the stones are going to be than just to have a jump running to the center, right? It's always going to be at least good. So it's a nice move, aiming at getting a great area and also aiming for the fight. Kind of hard for White to do anything. So White chooses to take this moment to go and build on the top side. Plays on the 4th line, because he's more interested in the center than the literal top side due to that earlier play of the large enclosure. Well, Black's interested in the center too. He's interested in the center on the right side of the board. So he plays the cover, the Knight's move cover like this, the press, and that's a very pressing move. It's tough for White, because you don't want Black to just, yeah, you're out, you're ahead of me, you just press me down, and I have to accept the top side. So he tries to push up so he doesn't end up just confined to the top side, which isn't that much space, but that helps Black build the right side. And he thought that wasn't going to be a big deal because he's going to invade the 3-3. But then black, of course, takes the advantage that he got in a little bit more thickness to attack the 3-3 from the corner direction. This is very strong. It's something that's sort of underrated, I think, by a lot of people. Actually just honeying from the corner, if you already had a stone at N3 or thickness over there, or even if you just cared about the right side more than the top side, there's a reasonable choice. It's something you can do. And so in this case, it's actually going to put a lot of pressure on white. White chooses to attach, and black plays the push here, because now white can't connect the top and the corner, right? So black's putting white in this uncomfortable situation. You defend one, you're going to let me put pressure on the other. And then you defend the other, you let me put pressure on, back on the original. So white just takes the split shape first, push through, and black plays simple connect here. It's a great move. It means your situation is tough, white, so figure out how to do it, how to deal with it, and I'll accept whatever you give me. So white has to save the corner first, so he decides to descend like that. Black plays the tiger's mouth, and then white plays hane, and goes into the corner like this. These days, this would likely have been a lot more complicated. The modern pros don't often play as simple as the pros of the 80s. So in this case, black was able to just simply finish here, and then black has a nice right side and white has a corner, and then the game goes on, right? And you can say maybe those two stones here are misplaced. They're sort of helping black get thicker, but also white managed to take the corner away. It's roughly even result, right? Well, white could have asked for more here, and I'm sure he thought about it, to play hane like this. So the idea of hane is that if black just has to answer, and then we play like this, then the two stones are not as badly placed at all. And in fact, white starts to be thinking that they're getting some kind of an area over there. In the future, when white plays the hane, like after the game variation, there's no way that white would get that anymore. So if you played hane here, then black is not going to respond and stop you from attaring at L2, because the top side is just not that big. So could he have gotten it at this timing? Right? If you play it at this timing, you're looking to maybe link up to the top side. So the top side is very big, it is very important, but black might hane here. And then if you atari, then black is going to cut you like this. And then white, it looks like they're in trouble. They can't live locally. So white might play this move, but black would play here. White might play this move, but black would be able to push. Here, white is threatening to play the first line move and connect back, or make a second eye, so black needs to stop that, stop the connection somehow. And then white would be running out. So now white is locally dead, but able to run out like this. This is the kind of variation which could be good for white if white's going to save, could be good for black if white's going to die. You can just throw down. This is something the modern pros are doing all the time, because as white here, if you can do this and it works, then giving black the chance to misread, mess it up, could win you the game on the spot, right? Oh, black tries to kill me, and then I'm alive. Everything's okay. So not only can you get a little bit of extra value, even if black plays it well, but if it works as well, then you can even just win the game if the opponent resists, right? Resists really hard. So this is really complicated after this. Black could attach, black could cover like this. But it turns out it was probably going to work for white. There were a bunch of ways this could go. One way, yeah. One way would be to play this way, like this, and then jump down. So the point of that would be now black cannot cut, right? Because if you cut, then you're going to get isolated with these stones. So black suddenly finds that they're having to save over here. That's why they extend over here is what you should read, because black definitely needs to take care of the right side as much as he can and also cut off the white center. So black might jump here, and then white could play attach. And then black would need to answer, and that would give white this move in sente on the outside. And when black fixes that somehow, then white might be able to cover in the center. Yeah, something like this. Or maybe what you would do is you would capture, and then you would play here. You can see black might be getting in trouble here, right? It looks more like white will be saving than black will be killing this top side. So the modern pros are always trying to press, not just for the advantage, little bit of advantage, but also, hey, do you want to go into a crazy fight? I feel like people do that way more often these days in the modern games that I see. Back then, oh, we could go for that crazy fight, but I know that this way, even though it might be a little bit worse, it's stable. I'm doing fine. Nothing's wrong for white, right? So let's just keep playing. And keep playing they did. So white plays the pincer over here, and black played attached directly into the 3-3. That was interesting because I'm 100% sure Nie Weiping has seen the Shusaku games, has seen what happened in the 1800s. In the 1800s, they knew that what you should do here is you should play this one first and then play here if you wanted to play the 3-3. So what that does is it means now if white plays this, when you played that one, you have a very severe threat. So white has to fix that, and then you can play like this. And compared to just attaching the 3-3 first, you get to exchange this one extra sort of peeping move, making white over concentrated. So if you look at the real game, instead, Nie Weiping thought I should hane. So he was like trying to play from the corner direction. But this way, when white just plays on the outside like this and connects here, he has to take care of this group, and it becomes a little awkward. So he bumps like that and runs out. That's not that awkward, but the bump is, it's not like it's literally alive in the corner. Still, white can hane connect over here to locally kill it whenever he wants. And for now, white is going to be peeping, and yeah, he looks at the cut to surround as well. That's going to be forcing, so black needs to now live. And white managed to make all of this outside pressure. Black had to live like really small. So it was actually better to do it the way that they did it in the 1800s by Shusaku and all of his contemporaries. This method is the one which we would use today. And you can see here, black isn't so small in the corner. White doesn't have the same amount of thickness outside. It's more likely black will be counterattacking that. The only difference, like the only downside, is that black isn't strictly alive here, but I don't think it's a real downside. I'm pretty sure this variation is just better by my own judgment, and then I think the AI also agrees. So it was interesting to see Nie Weiping depart. It's not like he doesn't know about that other variation, but he just intentionally chooses the corner here. And probably he loves the territory balance. That's all I can say. So white plays in the center. This is an interesting move to defend, aiming at capturing that one stone and then also fixing the cut over here sort of with less intent. If the bottom side had been bigger, so if after this white could play here and have it mean anything, probably white would play the tiger's mouth to make sure you could get some territory. But on this board, there's nothing interesting about the bottom side. So white just shifted that move up like this and said, hey, you know, the whole game has been playing for the center. The center is where it's at. The center is where stuff is happening. And so black agreed. He played the tiger's mouth here, making sure to separate the two white groups. White, yeah, he exchanged that first. So this is to press the black, you know, now that that group is surrounded solidly, he wanted to press it back a little bit and then block here. It was correct for white, for black to do this one, by the way. I actually did the math compared to this one. I've been having fun doing the math of the endgame recently. So both of those would live, but this one is better mathematically. You know, this is the math that you should be doing, but I just hadn't been doing math like that properly before for a long time. Anyway, white blocks over here. So he's obviously taking his space like this. Makes sense. And then black runs this way, runs on the bottom side. So we have an interesting position. So black has allowed white to potentially cut this group in the center, and instead he's playing on the bottom side. The reason why is because he cares to get a route into the center and to get attacking potential on those stones to maybe get it. Also, the bottom side territory next to his territory already, increasing his boundary is never something you should just like turn down, of course. But it did allow this move, which is a bit uncomfortable. And after that, black played this peep. I can't say I understand this peep. I don't know what it's trying to accomplish. It seems like it sort of just helped white. So now there's no chance, not only that black could peep from a different direction, but even if black would end up filling the liberty of those three stones for whatever reason. Sometimes that could happen when you're making eyes, right? If you just start making eyes in the center, you imagine a situation where that group gets surrounded and can make two eyes. you could imagine filling the Liberty, and then that peep is losing a lot because you missed the cut, right? And then it's also losing the chance to peep from the other side. I don't know why this peep was played, basically, is what I'm trying to say. The exchange looks suspicious to me. And after that, he plays this Hane. So here you can see his plan was to run out on top. So still, even if you're going to do it this way, I don't know why we peeped. I think we should have just done this same concept without the peep, and it would have been better. But regardless, maybe his idea was that he won't hit the peep anymore because white is going to run through next or something. White is going to run through next. So black has managed to escape with those stones that he allowed to be cut. The good news for white is that white managed to run through and sort of get a route into the right side of the center while that was happening. And white also has the good news that he's going to eat the peeping stone, and that should be able to make his group get a lot of eye shape and eye space. So this is actually really uncomfortable for black. Basically, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this running move. Allowing this white move, if we don't know how we're going to take care of the group, like, comfortably and well, I would rather just make sure that we don't allow attacks that we don't know what to do against. That's the way that I play Go. It's kind of a wimp way to play Go, but in the game, this black seems a little confused here, because he can play in the center, but the bottom side is just more important, because white is saving a group there. So every move that he plays now, it's sort of helping white play a more important move. That's not to say that those moves in the center are valueless, but they just don't have as much value as what white is doing. So white is sort of getting a lead back into this game with the fighting there. Black's turn is not forcing on this group, is that right? No, it is. White played the peep first and then answered. The peep was just something that was threatening in the meantime. Actually, black shouldn't have answered this peep. There were some funny ideas about peep back then. But this is a peep that, in modern day, everyone has seen the AI say, don't answer peep, don't answer peep, don't answer peep. So I'm sure modern professionals will feel encouraged to play moves like this one or this one. At which point, if white really goes for the cut, it's like, well, you know, what are you doing? You don't you don't necessarily get to attack me that hard. It's not going to immediately pay itself off when black is just getting movement outside. Even black can maybe wait on exchanging anything over here and just keep running. If black is getting the movement over here, who cares about peep, cut, these stones? It's not that important, right? So connect here was a little passive by black. It allowed white to get the first move running through that center there, and also answer the bottom side. The bottom side was dangerous, by the way. I just was reading it as is. Monologuing. It's dangerous because that cut can lead to that Atari, which then, you can see locally speaking, this is going to be a dead group on the bottom side. So that's why, obviously, after this, there's no eyes. That's why that was important. So white decided to fix it like that. And then black ran to the top, or ran to the left side, and played this floating move, which I'm a big fan of. I like this kind of floating move. I like that Nie Weiping knew to play it. The common theory at the time was sort of a sector line idea. And then after that, what all the pros would do is just read to figure out what's the best. This one makes a lot of sense, because if white is answering on the fifth line, because there's still a monkey jump waiting underneath, there's almost no room behind that fifth line move. So white is looking at this thinking, well, if I attack from the outside, black can simply run out. I don't have enough power to, like, save it, to kill the group, or to even surround. So, like, if I attack from the outside, it's not going to work. If I save from the left side, I don't get anything anyway. So I guess I just don't do anything. And he chose to Hane on the top side and switch. So this move immediately made white give up on all the center dreams that he had been talking about the whole game strategically. This is something that happens a lot, and it's why this kind of move is underrated. These center moves, in my opinion, they're really good at making the opponent not know what to do anymore, when before they had a clear idea, as long as you choose a move carefully so that you know and you're reading carefully on what can happen next. So after that, black ran all the way down and said, actually, now this whole area that you were building, I'm attacking you in it. So white didn't manage to get away from playing a move to save those 3 stones after all. White plays a jump here first, and black plays the bump here. That was weird. I don't really understand why you would bump instead of playing a move like this one. That's very thick. It seems to be about the movement to the right side of the center, but there's a shape problem with this, which of course white will point out immediately. Peep, peep. So you connect with the empty triangle. How odd. Yeah, but this is just something that you should remember. Anytime you see like bump into two space, you absolutely have the right to just force them into an empty triangle like this. So already it's a bad shape. And that's why when I see my large nice move get under pressure, I always like to play a diagonal, one of these diagonal moves to try to connect. Then they can peep me, but I won't be very inefficient after the peep. Obviously we wouldn't connect if it was like literally here. But as a general rule, you have a more flexible shape that's not going to be contorted the way that white does it in the game. So maybe not the wisest shape decision there by Nie Weiping, but he's still attacking the black or the white bottom left. So white needed to slide underneath like this. And I'm sure Nie Weiping was happy to see that as well, because that's going to give him a nice shape move later. We're going to see that. But first he's going to save the group in the center. Just run it out. Make sure you're secure there. Making sense. And white played the Atari here, trying to build that territory. Excuse me, on the top side. So obviously if black had played on the top side, white would have jumped over here, chased this black group into the power, and that would have grown a lot of the white territory, even given a lot of white chances to cut, chances to reduce. Wouldn't have been good. So jump here, definitely wise, but the white Atari here, big territory. Black had to connect, and white played here. It's starting to look like it's an early endgame. So white connects the cutting point here, just building his territory on the top side. Black plays here. So this is the move I was talking about. This is such a comfortable endgame. Whenever you see a slide on the third line to second line, like this, and you're next to it, this move is so good. It's so good, where white has to figure out how to fix that. And even if there wasn't a black stone at the vital point, it would still be difficult for white, because white, even if white took that vital point, it would still be slow. And black is getting so much control. It's so comfortable. But when there's a black stone here, it's even worse than that for white. It's so sad that white just has to play here. And black can do that move, cutting off the peep, making even a potential small area for black there. It's so comfortable. And white felt very, very bad that there's a potential cut on the left side remaining still. So white played here. And that was not a very good move. That allowed black to play away and get some momentum in the game. If white had been the one to play away, and black plays here, then white thought, well, I can't let them just connect, and then I get attacked over here. That's not acceptable. So I'm going to have to cut like this, and cut, and then there's a ko going on. And that ko, first of all, black can fight it on the outside here, but there's no reason why I should necessarily be able to win that ko. So that ko is for my life and death of this whole group. That's very scary. And of course, there was some methods here. So if it goes like this, black wouldn't be able to connect directly, because obviously that would die. But black would be able to play, and same with the connects back here, you don't want to get squeezed, but black would be able to play here. So this is the method that white could have used to then get a step ko, right? So black can't connect this ko directly. White can try to win it, but if black wins it, black has to make a connection first before he can ever come back. So it turns out that many steps, because black owes a lot of moves connecting, probably this was playable for white. So white could have gone away and just done, some more big moves. If black wants to win this ko, black has to play here first, right? Black has to play here, and only then can black actually connect, which would kill the bottom left. But that was something that white was actually supposed to allow. This answering here, it's so sad, and it's sad when you play it. To play a jump like this, you're just taking your territory on the third line, right where the opponent is already capable of monkey jumping, and there isn't even territory anyway. We're just connecting back on almost dame, on almost 0 points at all, right? Very, very sad, but good for black, right? So that was a very nice structure, well done by Nie Weiping to put all this pressure on Kobayashi Koichi, having to accept a multi-stage code to kill your group just for free in the endgame. That's no fun. So he couldn't do it, and it allowed Nie Weiping to play this pretty important turn that reduces the white upper left, starts to grow his area on the right side. White notices the right side, plays here, and turns like this. Yeah, I was a bit surprised that they didn't play the Honey Connect on the first line right away. I think that would probably be good, but this turns out this was the blue move. It was maybe the blue move for a while. It was really important to turn here because it puts pressure on these stones that they can die, as well as the left stones that they can die, as well as the center area that black is building there, that area can be reduced. So turning there forced black to play just a simple connection here. That if he didn't do that, then he would have been leaving some chances for white to take advantage of his shape later and capture some stones. So this was his way to try to keep the white right side not not from growing by killing him. But that allowed white to now play that very, very nice first line Hane and then play here. Yeah, actually, I think that the AI said white should even omit that and allow it like this. To me, this stuff doesn't really make sense. I don't know. I don't really understand. I know that when you Hane connect, you gave black more power. So, you know, in this case, when white plays the next move reducing, it's threatening a lot more that white will be able to kill those stones than here. So in this case, when white plays this one, black could just play away. It wasn't a big deal, because if white comes in and reduces, still black is going to be very strong on the right side because of the tiger's mouth. So although, you know, either player could play there and press the other guy back by 2 points, and it would be Sente, so it seems like it's a 4-point swing, right? Whoever gets there is 4 points better. But the strength mattered a lot for black, that's definitely true. I didn't know it mattered so much that you should like actually allow it as white. 4 points more strength in the center, really? Do we think we can get 4 more points in the center? I don't really understand where they are. If someone understands about that, then I'd love to know. But anyway, after that, black played here. So this is a massive move in reverse Sente. So maybe instead of playing there, white should have played this one first. This would be forcing black would be down to only 2 points and like can still push there. When black plays here, then you know, white didn't get to play the forcing move, and now instead of having 2 points in the corner, black has 6 points in the corner. So that was 4-point reverse Sente. Seems like that wouldn't be big enough at this stage of the game, but you also make a huge effect on the white bottom side. And it's not just that you can Hane, that you can capture the stone and then allow white to answer. That would already be another 2-point gain. Starts to make the move look pretty big. But more importantly, it's that we can clamp and cause some life and death problems to this white. And that's going to be really annoying for white as they play the endgame on the bottom side. It made this actually the best move on the board, which was, it was surprising to me as I as I was counting. I was like, okay, we get to, you know, 6 1/3 point reverse Sente. Surely that's not as big as some of these other moves that we have on the board, but there was a big effect of the clamp at L18 that could absolutely help with the power on the bottom side and the center. So well done by Nie Weiping to spot this one. And then white just grows from the upper left. Black played Atari first and pressed here. And then he played this move. So at this point, we're really heading into an endgame here. And it's looking like white might be a little bit ahead. What happened is that at the very beginning of the game, black gave white 5.5 komi. That's not a komi that we hear about these days, because we've realized playing, you know, playing white deserves 6.5, 7.5. White only got 5.5, right? Despite that, white has managed to do a pretty good job because largely of the bottom side, where black ended up entirely in dame. And reducing all of the other areas, getting around everywhere. So black is sort of panicking that white has managed to make a lot of territories here. And I think his positional judgment was that white is leading a lot. So he's trying to reduce very harshly into the top side. And when white plays this move, which is trying to make Miai of going forward and going back. So if you go forward, I'll cut you off. And if you go back, I can at least fix with the most outward shape. Black played here. So, white's move was kind of benign. The passive way would have been this one, allowing yourself to get peeped and pressed. He didn't want to do that, so he tries to press for a little bit more. This way, if black falls back and white plays here, white has more movement to the center. The tiger's mouth is nice, or a bit further outwards. And black playing this one is like vigorously saying no. You want a little bit more? At this point, I can't accept it. No, we're gonna fight. So that gives white a chance to try to surround those two stones. Of course, Nie Weiping wouldn't just get surrounded for no reason, so he knows that he can play attach here, and that he can save those stones falling back. So when white plays this move, black fixes the cut, doesn't allow the wedge to happen, leaves a cutting point for white, and white played here. The game is heating up a lot. This tiger's mouth connect, obviously white had to connect somehow. He thought, I should connect in a way which gives me the most movement to the right side. And no matter what, there's still going to be a weakness over here. So after this, black played away. That was very exciting. If black would just Atari and like answer somehow, that kind of thing, white thought I can still play this one and I can still make a ko whenever I want to try to capture those stones. But it was probably a little incorrect by white. If instead white had played this move, then you wouldn't have to rely on a ko. So now if black is fixing on this side, you can hane. Obviously this is planned by black. It's not like black is shocked to see that. But after the hane, you can play the throw-in like this. So there was no way to stop black from connecting back right away. But with this throw-in first, then you could play here. Black's short of liberties, so black cannot connect anymore. That means when you play this throw-in, black would have to be falling back directly, and you could cut these off immediately without a ko. Since the ko is like a little heavy, if you lose the ko, you start to get broken on the left side, right? So the ko is never really that playable. This connect would have been forcing for a weakness over there. Instead, he played here, so that sort of missed on a potential extra form of value that he could have gotten. And then black played here. This starts a critical moment of the game that's in my book. Do you guys remember? I made a video on this book like a year ago or so. The 36 Stratagems Applied to Go by Ma Jiaochun, one of Nie Weiping's contemporaries and friends. This game features in this book as the 32nd stratagem, the empty fort ploy. So you can see here, this move starts the stratagem. All right, I want to see the original text of the 32nd stratagem. One who has nothing shows that he has nothing, arousing deep suspicion. When the weak meets the strong, it seems all the more strange. That's the original text from the 36 strategies applied to Go. Not applied to Go. This is applied to Go. The meaning is, if you have nothing, so be it. That is all the more difficult for people to fathom. So in attack and defense, if you use no tactics to conceal your weakness, you benefit from an appearance of surprise tactics. That's to describe what black is doing here. So black has ignored entirely what's going on the left side with that one weak group and has built his own area instead. So here we go. Basic figure, the original position here. At this point, the sides and corners are basically settled. Other than black's thin Aji in the center, there aren't any life and death problems anywhere on the board, but it's just that thin Aji in the center that's bothering black. If he makes the usual reinforcing move, then white gets to play the first point in Yosei. This is a very important part of the game. So what would have happened here, what was key to realize, is that if black plays the standard move, which is to just fix the center, right? Like this move is basically the same meaning as jumping and fixing everything. It's a little bit better to play this diagonal move because it just moves a bit faster into the potential, this white area isn't going to be a potential area, and still it's like all fully connected, all fully defended, everything. But if you played like this, then white would have this glorious clamping move, which of course the players at this level are eyeing for a long time. They've seen that ages ago. They know that that's where white is going to play here. And Ma Jiaochun says it's a Hasami Tetsuji. Black 3 is the stiffest resistance. He says black should play here. And then when white Ataris, of course, white cannot save these because you're going to get captured like that. But white can diagonal. Black will have to fall back this way, capture those stones. Black gets pressed back all this way in Sente. So after all of that happens, then he has white playing here, settling the shape over here like this. And yeah, white just continues the endgame. He has an endgame variation that goes on for 53 moves. He just tries to predict the right endgame. When I put his whole variation into the AI to see, in his variation, both black and white can be winning. Like there's mistakes all over the place. But his conclusion is at the end, he thinks white is going to win. If the end game goes normally, white is going to win. Actually, amusingly, at the end of his 53 move variation, the AI says black is going to win by half a point with the 5.5 Komi. But at the original point of the game, it's not wrong that white is leading. It was just some mistakes later on in the end game, and then some. This is going to be a spicy end game too, guys. Don't. Once the empty fort ploy ends, and by the way, this is like one of the greatest highlights I think in all the games I've covered. But even after this highlight, the game is not over. It's still going to be very exciting. Anyway, seeing the variation in diagram 1, so Ma Chun, probably could actually talk to Nie Weiping and ask him, hey, what were you looking at? What do you think was going to happen? So I'm going to trust him when he says, seeing the variation in diagram 1, Ma Chun's long 53 move endgame variation, black, Nie Weiping, knew that the usual steady continuation would clearly lead to a loss. He had to use some strategy to make a contest out of the game. Thus, he took up the empty fort strategy, ignoring the Theology in the center, taking the first Yosei move. Yosei meaning endgame, by the way. So that's why he played here. The actual game. So first surrounding territory with this one, and then when white plays here, play here. Wait, do I have my... Wait. Okay, in the actual game that Ma Chun has, white exchanged this this endgame. In the game that I have, which is a recording from Waltheri, the site. By the way, you can check the site Waltheri to see game records from all sorts of historic pros. It's a great website. The game record I have, white did not exchange this push yet. It doesn't matter, that exchange is just what's going to be played at some point later. Anyway, Ma Chun thinks that exchange was played right away. Regardless, after black plays here, white plays the attach. The attach here of white 4 cutting black apart was severe! Exclamation point, Ma Chun writes. Fighting in this region, black was certainly teetering between success and disaster, but the best he could do to put stubborn resistance was some hard-headed play. So he bumps into the white thing, and he Ataris here. At this point, white developed in his mind the idea that he did not want to expose himself to any risks. So he played Hane at the head of 2 stones, losing an opportunity. After black captured the 1 stone here, so after Ataring and capturing the 1 stone, complications set in. Actually, at this point, white 10, so the next move, could have been played at the wedge. So white played here. White could have wedged, splitting the black stones, but that risk-avoiding attitude stopped white from doing it, and instead he played the turn on the bottom side. The move was an extremely large endgame to play. Of course, because black had set up a threat earlier, this one was really, really, really big. If black now answered here, then white's push would be Sente, and then that would make it so that the wedge here was very clear to kill. If black didn't block but just connected, then black would be getting pressed everywhere. And so black played here unexpectedly. Yeah, if black played this one, then just this was nothing. So black played here unexpectedly. White started to lose his cool. Finally, white played here. That one was incorrect. That should have been played here, according to Ma Zhao-chun. But instead he played here, submissively turning, says Ma Zhao-chun. White would still have a slight advantage if he just answered. Following the diagram, black played here and here. Both moves were good. And now white played Atari here. If white had played like this, capturing one stone, black would cut off one stone here, connecting while getting some extra points. 3 extra points to be precise. In this sort of situation, one cannot stand the loss of 3 points. That's true. So, after this, white played Atari, Atari, connected here. Black played cut, and white connected through here. Black played the peep first, cut, connecting by capturing the 3 stones. After this, with both sides playing a normal continuation, black could win by a small margin. That's what Ma Zhao-chun says, and he's right. The AI says black gained 1 point in this whole sequence. Crazy sequence. There are so many details to check. So that was Ma Zhao-chun telling the story. I might as well borrow from the book. When there's a literal book written on the topic of this small section in the game, I might as well. It's incredible. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning. Yeah? Let's go back and see. And in fact, let's go back to the beginning and see what Ma Zhao-chun has to say. Because I checked this also with AI. Everything Ma Zhao-chun was literally exactly correct. Everything Ma Zhao-chun said in the book. Like 100% everything exactly correct. Everything he read. He missed nothing. So really excellent writing. This book, by the way, I'm going to link my video. It's a wonderful book. Actually wonderful book. The reason why white did not dare to wedge here, right? White could have wedged here and killed it. But why did he not do it? It's because he read that there was going to be a ko. So if black Atari is like this and plays this way, white could play here. Black could play this one. White could play connect. Black could play here. And then white could play this way. Throw in Atari. At this moment, so that was the best thing you could do for liberties. You can verify it. At this moment, you can see white has 4 outside liberties. But when black jumps like this, black is going to get more. So white has to fight this ko directly, like this. Problem is, black has 4 ko threats. Where are the ko threats? Well, remember when black played that reverse sente move that I thought was too small? Suddenly, he's getting 4 ko threats out of it. So you play this one, that's sente for this. Here, that's necessary answer. And then answering here, all of that is forced. And then after this one, and here, all of that is forced. That's 4 ko threats in a row. So white thought, well, geez, I can't get 4 ko threats. That's way too much. So I'm just going to lose. Black is going to be able to connect this ko at some point, connect back to that one stone, get 4 liberties, kill this group. Black gets a huge extra cash infusion. I can't match that with any of the ko threats that I see for myself on the board. Very, very reasonable reading, right? However, when this happened, and here, rather than to play this one, white should have played here. This is what Ma Zhao-chun says. He's exactly correct, of course. Black should cut, like so. White can still exchange this, but now white can play this way and fill the liberties straightforwardly, instead of using the throw-in and the ko. So at this point, white is going to get enough liberties to be able to attack this black. You can see there's no way for black to expand the liberties that much over here. So black's best way should be to reduce these liberties. If they simply can manage to connect, it's going to be enough. So we should try to wedge to cause bamboo shortage liberty problems. This is the best thing that you can possibly do. And yeah, you can connect. Yeah, you can also have peeped and then aim at it. But you can see here, at the end, when white connects here, there's 4 outside liberties, there's 3 outside liberties, there's 1 shared liberty. In this way, white would be able to kill black, right? You can see, lose the semi-eye by 1 liberty. This variation was probably overlooked by white during the game, says Ma Zhao-chun. So how was it overlooked, right? Well, what you had to see was that after I cut here at the wedge point, you had to see that black is going to go after your shape, right? Obviously, if you know, if the simple thing happens and it goes like this, then you're gonna get killed. But what you can do is you can actually start with this one. So then there's no way for black to be doing anything other than this sort of straightforward stuff. And then you can just directly race the liberties. So starting with that bamboo, probably white missed that, at least missed the variation, or missed the move. So that was one thing that white got wrong here. But additionally, when white played that Hane, already Major Chun was describing about having some problems in your mentality. When Wei Haned here, if he had made a calm assessment of the situation, there was one other way that would work, says Masha Chun. Instead playing the extend, like this. What this threatens is to now cut off these stones if you just capture. So now there would be no way to run out the black stones. That's a huge cash infusion for white. All these extra dead stones would be enough to win the game by a lot. Remember, the game is very close. So black would need to fix that. And then when he do, then white could then connect here. Black would need to fix that again. And that is Sente on the bottom right white group. However, white also established a couple cutting points over here, and those he could use to cut off and kill the entire black center group. So the full trading would have been the white group in the bottom right is dead, the black group in the center is dead, right? Who gained? It turns out it should be white who gained, because this center group was just more area than the bottom right group. So if both sides die, then it's good for white. Probably white saw that he could extend back, and he knew he could save the stone, and he knew he could then cut the center group, but he didn't know for sure that the bottom right white group would be bigger or smaller than the, center black group. Black, so in the game here, in the book here, Maja Chun writes a full endgame variation again, and he comes to a conclusion, which is that after this, black would be down, black would be down by about 4 or 5 points, and that is exactly true, exactly correct. So conclusion, Maja Chun's conclusion here. When a normal continuation is clearly unsatisfactory, the situation demands we use some false appearances to confuse the opponent. Then the opponent would always have an impression that he stood better and would be reluctant to take any risks. That's exactly, by the way, a strategy that somebody just pulled against me in one of my Fox games. I'm going to post on Telegraph. Little teaser. In the game, black ignored his thin Aji in the center, taking real profit instead, using the empty fort ploy to confuse his opponent. The opponent became suspicious of everything and did not dare play boldly. Under the sway of his impression of superiority, white wanted to avoid a fight seeking stability. Black exploited this little chink to brilliantly extricate himself from his difficulties. Black's use of the empty fort ploy was the only way he could turn around the unfavorable situation in this game. Because we were just going into endgame, right? There was nothing else particularly happening. So it was plotted because it worked, I think. If you check the AI, obviously, because these other variations are winning by a lot, and if black would have just played the sort of normal response, then black would have been winning by little, right? Or white would have been winning by little. So obviously, if you check AI, it's going to say this move is minus 5 points, because before we had a close game, and then in the actual game, white could have done some stuff which is not a close game, right? But white had to actually find it. And that was the challenge that Nie Weiping gave to Kobayashi Koichi. This is the first game, by the way, that Nie Weiping is playing in the Japan-China Supergo match. Very bold to trust your positional evaluation and be like, you know what? I'll throw the game here as long as we don't go to a losing endgame. He cared. It makes sense. Like, why would he go to a losing endgame if you think it's a losing endgame? Just win. So this was his way to try to win, and he did a great job by using the pressure on these white cutting points to be able to connect himself through this, through this shortage liberty and all the way through here. The peep first, by the way, a nice clever move, sort of. Majo Chun, it's below him. He wouldn't look at it, but I actually did not see the peep here. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, of course you should do that. And so we go into an endgame, and now black is the one who should win by half a point, actually. All right, so white plays Hane, and black plays bamboo. Yeah, I was interested in this moment. because before I'd always seen people play here rather than playing the bamboo. In terms of endgame, it's the same, because this way you're pushed back the exact same amount as you're going to see black get pushed back in the game. But there's some differences when it comes to co-threats, which I think are sometimes important. Also, some people believe you should play here, because this way you don't get pushed back those extra 2 points. But there's a big downside, which is that you have to actually keep the aji clean in your corner, which gives white a million co-threats and some threats against your corner elsewise, if the endgame on the other side doesn't go so well. So makes sense to back off. I think that's probably usually correct. And then white is using these moves, and black, answers in the corner like that. So this is what I was talking about, where black had to spend a couple moves answering in the corner. That would always happen. It's normal. And now white played here. This move is forcing, threatening to cut through and capture these stones, so it's not just like blocking the territory in the center in a weird way. Black played the sente move and then connected, and white played here. We saw this in the Mahjong endgame finishing thing. And we're going to see the next sequence here. This also happened in Mahjong's endgame that he was pointing out. And it actually turns out that he missed something, as did both players in the game. And it's something that I also missed when I was checking, of course. It's really cool. So what black does now is he plays Atari and Atari here, and then connects. And there was actually a mistake in that sequence, which is sort of shocking because it looks very, very normal. Very normal. But there was something that black could do better. So what is it that he could do better? Black had a chance to ask about this move and to ask about this one. So what was the meaning here? When you play... So I think it was better to do this one specifically, because that was right. This is the move that needed to be played first. So when you play this one, if white plays here, then you're going to want to Atari and then push here. So the reason why this sequence is best is because this is a way where we're using that center move in order to put threat that will capture the 2 stones here. So white can't play in the center, obviously, because we're going to capture the 2 stones, get a huge chunk. White's got to fall back like that. We can still use the normal sente, but now we can connect on this side. That's forcing. And this is better, partially because we don't have to worry so much about this cutting point. And also because we reduced all the area in the center there for white. So white's getting almost no points in that part. If instead white would block this way, then we get to capture a stone like this. And because we didn't exchange the Atari first, then we can still use the Atari from that side at some point. So maybe what you would do is you would immediately Atari here and then do that. Or you could just immediately capture. It depends, because when white is playing, even if you capture the stone first, when white is playing here, and then there are still ceding a little bit of territory on the left side that you get to Atari them later. Anyway, lots of details here, but this is something that Nie Weiping played sort of the most basic way in the game, like this, and that allowed white to exchange that, and now Nie Weiping resists. He could have just connected here, but he thought if he connects this way instead, he can get an extra point or 2, like this. Still, white would be able to connect here. And when white plays the Hane, so now because this whole sequence ends in white getting some nice connection, when white plays the Hane, he can actually get that in sente. Black lost his chance to be able to press on the top side first. So white plays Hane and connect here, and black pushes like this and has to connect. He has to answer, otherwise his group in the corner can potentially die. So it turned out that that was kind of good for white. It shouldn't have been. Like, white gave black a chance to reduce harder, so white sort of messed up and then got rewarded because nobody knew that sequence. Not me, not them, nobody, except the AI. Okay, after that, now white captures the ko, and this became pretty interesting. Black ignores to play a big move, like this. That one is sente, so that makes sense. It was also really big. He comes back. So white could have taken that moment instead to link up this way and deny black that huge sente move. Maybe white should have in the game. Instead, black got to play there. And when white answers here, black doesn't lose anything when he comes back to resist like this. You can say black gained. The other interesting part is that they're fighting this ko, which is not actually like necessarily that big. It's quite big, but there were some other big things going on the board. When white captures, white only gets what, 7 stones. So white wins the ko and gets, at max that's gonna be 14 points when white connects again. It's actually not that big if you look at it on a move-by-move basis. Black recaptures anyway, and then white jumps here. This starts a center endgame. Center endgames are so hard to count, man. I tried to count how big this move is. I failed. Whatever my result was, I got it really wrong when I checked the AI, and then I gave up. And I actually forgot what I came up with, what number I came up with. But I've been trying, guys. I'm learning. I'm learning to count these endgames better. But these center endgames, it's so hard to count. What exactly is going to happen when black plays here or when white plays here, when you have to account for all the other cuts and all the reduces and all the territory boundaries that you can potentially get. I don't know how to count it. It's too tough. Too tough for me. Anyway, black does this on the top side. And this is a big part of why that thing that he did earlier on the top side was important. So white came back to cut. And black is going to challenge on the top side with this clamp move. He has a lot of co-threats, so white just allows him to get away with that. And then black plays this placement move, reducing to the top side. So what black managed to do by capturing that 1 stone was not just to reduce some territory, forcing white to come back, giving him some like forcing move, but it also meant that there's no longer a white stone potential at N1. And that makes this reduction a lot stronger. So here black could absolutely cut, but then white would be able to block. So he just chooses to connect this way, thinking, if white blocks, then I won't cut, but I'll go play my biggest endgame elsewhere. Maybe later I'll cut. And if white doesn't block, then I have a big potential reduction. So white knew about that, but he decided this ko must be very big. Black played a sente move, tried to fight the ko. And white played here. And that was the losing move. Very interesting as to why. Feel free to pause the video and think about how you would play as black to finally win the game, which you get a big opportunity right here. So the correct way for black to play was peep, like this. This is the only move that punishes white. It's a gorgeous move, actually. What is this move doing? Well, there's a simple idea, which is that white should answer. If white does not answer, then you will play here and then here. So earlier, when black finished off this press, right? White thought, okay, you're pressing against me, so maybe you're looking at reducing, so I'm going to try to capture these stones. And then black said, oh, I actually want to save the ko. And white sort of forgot that when black is winning the ko, black can connect that anytime. So black is already safe with these stones. And that means that the pressure that he has on the white shape already exists. So this move is very, very mean. White has to answer to stop from being squeezed and killed on the left side. But when he does that, black can connect back on the top side. And that is a huge swing of territory, far bigger than the push here was. That push only reduces a couple points as you continue to play your sente after that. You can see black is now planning to connect when white plays that ko. But black managed to reduce all these points on the center, on the top side. All of those points were reduced in sente. And then black plays away as well. Because why is it in sente? If white wouldn't have answered again, then black will still just push and press and reduce so many more points. So white has to answer just because it's the biggest. If white had tried earlier to cover that right away, well, it's still going to be very, very, very problematic. You can still use the weaknesses here. So you could play like this and here. White needs to answer to stop this thing from happening. So white needs to cover that. And when black plays this way and connects here, black even just made it Atari sente on this side. So that was not better. That was still completely broken. White had to do something like connecting here and play like this. This is the only option White had, but it lost so many points, which White was planning to be able to block and actually keep on the top side in Sente. So after that, Black plays here, which is forcing on the left side, and then he answers the White move, which was supposed to be a co-threat for this. So he not only reduced all these points on the top side, but White didn't even get anything. And you might think like, oh, surely White had a chance at some point, like White could have pressed in here, right? Surely White didn't just miss the chance to come over here. But all the time, there was some very, very serious threats. So over here, there was some serious threat on this side. And at any time, if White would press, now, then Black could make the reduction with threats that he would be killing stuff and therefore saving this group, and then, make even further gains before coming back to answer. So it was correctly played after that peep by Black. White played correctly, but it looks so silly to have lost all of this and then your co-threat gets answered too. Ultimately, White comes back to answer here in Gote. And now the game. So this is why Ma Chun said if the game proceeds with a normal endgame in his book, the actual endgame was not normal. There was a brilliant Tessiji by Nie Weiping that solidified it. So in that way, Nie Weiping manages to win his first game in the China-Japan Supergo team tournament. Nie Weiping was... So this is like a knockout-style tournament. Nie Weiping was the last player remaining for China, and he not only won this game, but the next two as well, to finally win the first Japan-China Supergo match. And then, the next year, he became the last player remaining again, and he won out again. And then the next year, he became the last player remaining again, and then he won out again. So the 3 years in a row, the first 3 China-Japan Supergo matches, Nie Weiping was the final player remaining, and he won all his games, beat all the Japanese players. He ended up on an 11-game winning streak in the Japan-China Supergo match. This is just the first of 11. You can see why, I think, when you see this game. He was relentless for an actual winning position. He was so good. And when he had a potential losing game, he did anything he could to swing it back. So the reason why he can win so many games in a row, he didn't just settle for the game which was losing a little bit. He made sure it was winning constantly and tried to be so consistent about it. It's really extraordinary. He got the nickname, the Iron Goaltender from the Chinese. That's what they called him because he was the guy at the net. He was the guy, the last guy up, the guy you need to save the ball, to save the match, the entire match, and every time he would do it. Bang, bang, bang. What a great player. What a legendary player. This is an awesome game. I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you want to know more about Nie Weiping and what he's done for Go, then I'm going to link a video to Z-Chen, Michael Chen, the American pro who made a nice tribute. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.